You know, on our show, we don't talk a whole lot about sports unless we find it incredibly interesting and entertaining. In this case, it's absolutely horrific what has happened. Former NFL receiver Henry Ruggs III, former Raiders, is that right?
Yeah. University of Alabama receiver, too.
Was sentenced 3 to 10 years in prison for, first of all, driving his car while drunk at 155 miles per hour, running into another human being, creating a fiery crash, and killing that woman.
I think they said she was going like 43 miles an hour.
The speed limit.
Launched her car 570 feet.
Absolutely.
That's
horrific.
insane to a car to go that far.
Like on fire once it landed,
horrible.
or was it on fire while it was in the air? I don't know. Either way, a life has been lost, and a lot of people are enraged about what they're saying, how little the sentence was from the judge, 3 to 10 years in prison. So at least 3 years, could be 3, or could be all the way to 10, or somewhere in between. Of course, O.J. Simpson, following the news, speaks out about the sentence.
I know I went to college on a football scholarship, but somehow this math is not adding up to me. You're driving a car at roughly 160 miles an hour on a public street and end up...
At least with OJ, this part, he's not hypocritical, because even when he had the Bronco chase, he was going like 30 miles an hour.
Under the speed limit.
So he's a very safe driver.
On the freeway. He wasn't even driving, but he wanted his driver to go slow.
Now, outside of the car, he's very dangerous. But inside the car, very 10 and 2.
Yep.
Well, he had somebody else driving. You're right.
Killing a girl and her dog, and you get 3 to 10 years. You go to a hotel room that you're invited to retrieve your own
Here he makes it about himself.
Stolen property I now have, because it was ruled to be mine by the state of California. And you get 9 to 33 years. Same courthouse, same city, same state. I don't know. Somehow it just does not add up to me.
And you're free after a double murder. So.
Yeah, there's that. So it's while we're torn a little bit. I mean, it's hard to hear O.J. Simpson of all people.
Sure, but he can be. People who have done bad things can be right.
Yeah, and in this case, I think that we do agree with him. How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
It not to us. So we do have our official attorney, Lisa Lanier, joining us live on the phone. Good morning, Lisa.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, so can you...
this is a great story.
Yeah, can you walk us through exactly how this makes sense? Does it make sense to you?
Yes. So the reason it makes sense is that there were problems with the blood alcohol draw that was done. And so what happened was that there were questionable steps in the warrant, and it was believed by prosecutors that his defense team would be able to get this kicked out, get the blood alcohol kicked out, and that they wouldn't be able to prove intoxication. And so they accepted a plea deal rather than take the risk of him getting off scot-free.
Oh, so he was facing many more years.
He was facing up to 50 years. Yeah. The penalty was up to 50 years, but because of the problems with the warrant, they were very concerned that it would get tossed. And they were still planning on prosecuting him, and they would still try to prove, you can prove intoxication without the blood alcohol, but it's much more difficult. And so the likelihood was that he could potentially get away scot-free. And so that's where O.J., they had O.J. like on video, and, when he was thinking about stuff. But I mean, to O.J.'s point, there are lots of situations that people are often appalled by. There's still inequities in sentencing where people who are charged with sometimes, relatively minor drug possession or, crimes that involve simply financial, crimes that are not that great in value, and they get these long sentences, whereas sometimes in manslaughter cases, you do often see, it's getting better, but you do often see sometimes lower sentences. You're like, wait, somebody died versus, I had one too many ounces of weed on me or whatever. So that there's still a lot of sentencing inequity, and our judicial system is trying to work to improve that. But here it was just strictly, it was a calculation. They did a cost-benefit analysis and said we'd rather see him go away for a lesser sentence and see him get off scot-free.
I see. That's why we have you on. You know all the ins and outs and the details.
And now we're like, oh, now it makes sense.
Now it makes sense.
Now we get it.
We agree with OJ, and then also it makes sense. This is a really good day. Now, we had, years ago in this area, there was a TV personality that, there's the allegation was maybe intoxicated, driving like on a side road and ran over a pedestrian while he was trying to walk home. I think the road was closed even. Something like that. Under construction.
Yeah, under construction,
odd.
I think.
And I can't remember how much he was sentenced to, but he only served like 2 years in prison, 2.5 years in prison. I think Michael Vick in the dog fighting thing was disgusting. Don't get me wrong. Spent more time in prison, and he took a life. And he paid his sentence, and I know he's trying to live his own life, so I'm not even going to bring up his name or anything, because people should be able to move on. But when somebody else, though, they lost their family member, they can't really.
Yeah, well, and that brings up a good point. Here we know the sentencing of Henry Ruggs. Yeah. But what about the family who lost a daughter, a sister, a friend? I mean, what about her life? What happens to them? They just have to move on?
Yeah, and usually the district attorney is in dialogue with the family in that situation, and they often, consult with them and explain the pitfalls about the warrant and the risk, and a lot of times they go ahead and get the family on board usually before they go and accept a plea deal like that, because the last thing they want is in the family holding a press conference or something and saying, this was terrible. But when the family understands, and they understand they'd rather have a conviction than him getting off, they were probably buying into that, I would think.
See.
And then you have, and my sympathy is obviously for the family, but then you have a young athlete who had his whole career and generational wealth for him and his family going forward, and that's gone one night of a major, major mistake. It's crazy. It can happen that fast.
Is there anything the family could do civilly, try to get money from?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure they are. Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm sure they want to see him go away for as long as possible, but they also will be able to tag him in a wrongful death action. And I'm sure they're doing that, and we may not even ever hear that much about it because it'll likely be settled without any kind of filing, I would think. As long as his team, first his car insurance would pony up their money, and depending on how much insurance he had, then they might be looking to get more beyond that. So I'm sure they'll definitely see a big payday. Won't bring her back, but it'll give them some sense of justice.
Well, and if you're just joining us, we are talking about O.J. Simpson making news today, talking about Henry Ruggs, who was a former Raiders player who was driving 155 miles per hour on a road and crashed into another woman. Her name, by the way, is Tina Tinter, and it is an accident through her car. How many feet, Jared?
You said 550 feet plus
into a fiery crash, killing her. And O.J. Simpson is absolutely, and I think that for the first time ever, we actually agree with him that it seemed like, until Lisa Lanier explained it seemed like the sentence was light. We do have the judge talking to Henry Ruggs during the sentencing.
Mr. Ruggs, you overcame so much as a young child. Trauma, loss, and you worked academically and athletically so very hard. And the world lost Tina, who was clearly a lovely, wonderful, and bright woman, and Max. So clearly this is a traumatic, tragic case. Mr. Ruggs, you have no record, and just like others who are similarly situated, who are involved in a overly tragic situation like this, I'm going to follow the negotiations. More often than not, I follow the negotiations. If for no other reason, I want to be consistent because this country needs a consistent judiciary. So in accordance with law of the state of Nevada, I hereby adjudicate you guilty of 1 count of driving while under the influence resulting in death and 1 count of vehicular manslaughter. In addition, a $25 administrative assessment fee, $150 DNA fee, $3 collection fee, $60 chemical and drug analysis fee. I'm going to sentence you to a minimum of 36, a maximum of 120 months on count 1. As far as count 2 is concerned, I'm going to sentence you to 6 months concurrence count 1. 2 days credit, 3 days credit for time served.
Get handcuffs out right away, don't they? Yeah, it's a tragic thing all the way around. It's crazy. Well, Lisa, can we say where you are right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know who your cell phone provider is, but it's really good.
It sounds great.
She had me call her several minutes ago to test the
We
reception,
did a
so
test
she's very
call.
forward-thinking.
Yeah.
She's in Germany.
Verizon works well internationally.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like
She's in
it.
Germany right now.
I know.
What?
Lisa, how
Yeah.
do we get to travel with you? Like,
Yes.
how can we make that happen?
Come
Because
on,
we're
come on, we
jealous.
will have a ball. Yeah, come on, we'll have fun. I love to travel. It's kind of like my little self-indulgence. And so, yeah, we're in Germany. We're near Berlin, right now about an hour and a half from Berlin, in a little area that is spelled like Spree, but they say it like Spray.
Oh.
The Spree Forest area, and Spree. And that sounded Irish the way I said it, but they say Spray. But they say Spray, but it's more like Spray on the A. But it is a lovely area. It's like canals everywhere. The water
wow.
table here is very high, and so it's a place where there aren't very many cars, and like people live here and they can only get around in these flat bottom boats, and it's just absolutely
Oh
gorgeous.
my
But
gosh! You just made us even more jealous.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures
I'll
now.
send
This place
pictures. I'll send some pictures. I've taken lots of pictures here, but it's just a lovely area, and we spent a lot of time yesterday in Berlin, and just really, heavy-hearted about all the Holocaust stuff, and that was a heavy day. But I learned that Germans were for a long time just not wanting to talk about the Holocaust. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. Let's don't talk about it. And then recently they've started over the last several years saying, we do need to talk about it, and we do need to. So there are all these new memorials, and memorials to like all the different sort of sects of people that were persecuted and killed by the Nazis, and like in the streets now, there are these little bronze tiles that they're trying to identify all the victims of the Holocaust and the last place they were known to live, and they put a little tile down for them, and they put on there which concentration camp they were taken to and what their fate was, and that's heavy stuff. But Spray is a fun place. Spray is a place to just relax and have fun. But y'all come next time. We'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Don't have to tell us twice. Please send pictures. We would love it.
Well, you work hard,
Okay, you got it.
and you're good at your job, so you deserve some downtime. And even on downtime, you're still working because you're calling us.
Right.
And answering questions about O.J.
There you
Simpson.
go.
All right, Lisa, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. She's great. Top 100 attorney in the entire country, which is incredible. Ever injured on a job, contact her right away. She's on vacation, but her office will take care of your calls and questions at hireaheavyweight.com.